Hey, everybody. Welcome to the back half. Today I'm going to be talking about books and bakes. So, what is Books and Bakes? Well, it's a fundraiser for Cake4Kids. But before I get into the complete thing, I want to go into a little bit of history about books and baking from my perspective. Even before I started elementary school, I was already obsessed with reading. I started off with picture books, and because I am a pack rat when it comes with books, I do still have The Tale of Johnny Town Mouse. My aunt gave this to me when I was very little, so this was one of the first books I ever had. That led way to things called Big Little Books. I don't think they still have those anymore, but like here with Donald Duck, and if you got to have like a little, it's hard to tell, but you get to like have a little cartoon strip, and also have Popeye. These were some of my favorite things. This is what I cut my teeth on as a little first and second grader. I loved the little library in my elementary school, which was just like one little room. I loved the annual book fair that came to the school every year, where my parents would never let me buy the books that I wanted, which basically I wanted to buy all of them. I loved reading the back of cereal boxes, anything with words, I was addicted to. Now, I read way above my age and grade level, mostly because I grew up in a house with a lot of books. So by sixth grade, I had already delved into some more Stephen King, one of my favorite things that I still have left over from my childhood or that I stole from my mom. I'm not really quite sure. Also, my Salem's Lot, amazing one, actually has the tie-in to the movie that scared the ever-loving shit out of me when I was a little kid. But I also got into, Kurt Vonnegut. And actually, if you haven't read Mother Night, go read Mother Night. This is an amazing book. So, by middle school, since I'd hit those in sixth grade, by middle school, I was a lending library for most of my friends, providing them with all kinds of horror and sci-fi books. Had all these, I had more Star Trek books than you could like shake a stick at. And also I was grabbing things like, John Irving's The World According to Garp, which in seventh grade was just an amazing book to me, even though my teachers kind of giggled that I was reading it. But they did appreciate it, and they actually recommended to me other books that I might enjoy. So, um, it's really no surprise then that I grew up to be a writer. That was my dream goal. And reading has been with me at every stage of my life. It's made me a better writer and a better person. My book collection dwarfs what I grew up with because I can't walk into a bookstore without buying 5 or 6 books. I'm usually reading 3 or 4 books at a time. It's a history book here, a horror novel there, a classic literature that I've finally gotten around to. But my to be read pile, which is actually piles scattered around the house, continues to grow because so many new things always sound so interesting to me. So while reading was with me from the very start of my life, my cooking obsession came a lot later. That was during the early 90s, during my first days in DC. My mom bought me my first cookbook, which was the Better Homes and Gardens cookbook. You can tell this thing, I am holding it together completely. There is no binding left on this book because I spent the 90s and the early aughts teaching myself how to cook with this book. I had to buy another copy later on, which I still have. But once I got that, and particularly when I started living on my own, in my first apartment by myself, I began dabbling with basic recipes, sometimes successfully, sometimes very much not. But over the years, with a lot of reading and a lot of practice, I got good at it. And even over the course of time, I taught myself to cook traditional Vietnamese food. This book, The Best of Vietnamese and Thai Cooking by May Pham, actually is what helped me impress my mother-in-law. So one of the better investments I ever made at a bookstore. But one of the first things I learned to cook was one of the most super basic. It was baking bread. As kind of an angry and angsty young man, it was really fun to be able to make something that required punching. So over the years, I got better with practice, and now I can say with some pride that I haven't bought a loaf of sandwich bread in probably more than 15 years. I bake my own every week or two. It's the way to go. So during the pandemic, like so many other people, I focused on baking, but not on sourdough. I wanted to bake cakes. I'd been baking cakes for years, but one thing I'd never tried was honest to God cake decoration. So, using videos and books and a lot of trial and error, I taught myself how to use piping tips, how to make frosting and icings, how to shape chocolate into ornamentation, and all these other kinds of skills. Ultimately, I was baking too much for a two-person home to consume, and my neighbors started begging me to stop giving them so much cake and donuts so often. Fair enough. But then I came across Cake4Kids as I was researching some new techniques online. Cake4Kids is a nonprofit that provides underserved and at risk youth with custom birthday and celebration cakes, cupcakes, and cookies. In chapters across the country, home bakers create beautiful cakes to give young people who may feel forgotten in the system something special that's just for them. I signed up immediately and quickly found myself baking a soccer themed cake, followed by a Fortnite cake. Bakers don't actually meet the kids directly, but we do hear back from the organizations who coordinate these gifts. And each one I've baked has given me just an immense feeling of joy. This spring, Cake4Kids provided its 100,000th cake. It's a big effort to run a nonprofit that provides for kids. It's training, coordination, education, fundraising. It all adds up. So while I've been supporting the kids through baking, I want to support the organization through reading. So how's that going to work? One of my favorite activities as a kid was the Read-a-Thon, a school organized fundraiser where we asked friends and family to pledge a certain amount per book that we would read over the course of a couple of weeks. Voracious little bookworm that I was, I raised far more money doing this than I ever did selling candy bars or candles. What I'm doing this summer is an individual grown-up readathon. I'm asking friends, family, subscribers, and clients to pledge a dollar amount for each book I read from July 1st through Labor Day. That's 10 weeks of me working through my to-be-read piles, or, to be honest, using it as an excuse to buy a few more books. At about 2 books a week, someone who pledges $1 per book would donate $20 to Cake4Kids. Every Friday, I'll be publishing a roundup at the back half of mini reviews and recommendations of what I've read. Now, they're going to be mostly positive because one of the perks of being a grown-up is not having to read bad books. I'll be reading across a range of topics and genres, some of my beloved sci-fi, horror, history, biography, and some literary fiction, plus, I hope, a couple of surprises. And the more I read, the more support Cake4Kids receives. I'll also let you know what books I have on deck so you can read along and hopefully share your thoughts with me and other readers at the back half or in the comments section here at YouTube. It's a simple plan combining two things I love, reading and baking, to support an organization whose mission I've committed to, all with the support of a job that I love, being a realtor. An important part of Books and Bakes is the support I'm receiving from the Bediz Group at Arla, which I joined this spring. One of my goals in making that switch to a new real estate brokerage was finding new ways to give back to the community, and I'm delighted that David Bediz and the whole team have helped me make this a reality so quickly. So, if I'm asking you to pledge $1 or $5 or $10 per book that I read, then I'm going to need to have some guidelines so you know how your support is going to work. So here are the 5 simple rules for the Books and Bakes Read-a-Thon. First, no short or easy books. I'm not going to be racking up a wild total of books just by reading short ones. So I'll avoid short books, anything that could be considered novellas or under about 200 pages. No running up the scores. I love graphic novels, but I tear through those too quickly. So those will wait till the fall. So no behemoth novels. This is not my time to finally make it past the first 100 pages of Gravity's Rainbow. This is not the time for me to make it more than a third of the way through War of Peace. And it's not the time for me to finally get through Roberto Bolaño's 2666. All of those books are going to wait again until fall or maybe next year. We will see. Number 3, nonfiction will be included. I do have some interesting things, I think, online. When the Sea Came Alive, an oral history of D-Day has just come in for me, and I'm just really looking forward to taking a crack at this. So there will be a little bit of something for everyone. So fourth is let's read together. Every Friday at the back half, like I said, I will be providing a review of the books that I've read. I'll also be putting together a list of the things that will be coming up in the next week or two. As a Books and Bakes Pledge supporter, you're going to get a free 6-month subscription to the back half. That means you'll have access to the full archives as well as access to any reader chats and other things as we discuss the books that I'll be reading. Again, no cost for you. That's just 6 months for free, just for being a supporter for Cake4Kids. And the fifth rule, you can cap out if my volume gets too high. Whether you're pledging 1, 5, or 10 or more, you can set a cap. So if I hit a four book a week pace, don't think that's going to happen, but we'll see. You won't find yourself with some kind of astronomical total. I want this to be fun, not stressful. That said, any amount you can pledge will be doing great work for Cake4Kids. So how to support Books and Bakes? This part is a super simple part. Visit SeanBugRealtor.com or click the link. It's going to be on one side or the other here, maybe both, or maybe above my head. Remember, it's your choice on how much you want to pledge and if you want to set a maximum amount. Anything you contribute can make a difference for at-risk and underserved youth. Again, each supporter, you'll receive a free 6-month paid tier subscription to the back half, complete with all the benefits that come with that. That actually includes an ebook edition of my book, Boy Does World, and you won't run into any paywalls on any post. Also, I hope you'll join me in some chats at the back half and here in the comments section at YouTube about the books I'll be reading. The more people reading, the better. So that's Books and Bakes, that's Cake4Kids, and that's what I'm going to be doing with my summer. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I'm really looking forward to having an awesome summer of reading with all of you.